Okay, I'm recording this for a few people who are missing the class but wanted the information. Uh, so I feel like I know most people here, but my name is Pam for anyone who is new. I'm a mom to 3 daughters, and I'm a wife, and I'm a community member, and I'm an adventure lover. I'm a coffee lover. I'm a Reiki master, conscious parenting coach, lover of life. Just, yeah, that's kind of and an oils gal. That's kind of a quick, gist on me. And Marianne, do you want to share now, or do you want to share it?
Marianne.
I can just say quickly now, I'm an oily grandma, a Reiki master. I love my oils. I love my tea. I love the smell of coffee, but I don't like its taste. And I love doing all things fiber related with my hands and being in the water.
Yes, I like that. So I'm going to jump right in, and this is going to kind of be at least on my end, and then Marianne's going to share a few things. I'm going to paint a picture kind of this is like a real personal testimony more than anything for me, of like the before and after of my family and loved ones and what they used to experience with allergies and what it's like now. So I'm going to paint a picture of that. I'm going to talk about a real brief description of what happens in the body when we're dealing with allergies and like the responses that occur and the systems that get affected. And then I'm going to literally give you all the tips of things that we did in our family that made a huge difference, so that, you can explore options for your loved ones and yourself. So I said I was a mom of 3. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. And my oldest 11-year-old, she came into this world as a baby struggling with severe eczema. She had very intense allergies. Like, she spent, I'd say, about 6 months out of every year just covered in snot pouring out of her nose, and just my mom, that's my mom, Marianne, shaking her head, swollen red eyes, just like really had a tough time out in the world, and also struggled with asthma. So as a young kid, she'd be running around because of the allergies, and she'd have very asthmatic like responses in life. And we, in that process of eczema and asthma and allergies, we saw all kinds of natural doctors. We saw Western doctors. We saw allergists. We saw so many people to try to get her support. And like, she had open wounds on her skin from the eczema. It was really intense and not fun. And it was a super long journey. So this is a little bit of the history I'm painting for you for her, and just a lot of struggle. And my husband, these are the 2 primary people I'm going to talk about. My husband had suffered from allergies since he was a super young boy. Like, he went and got all the allergy testing. He used to get biannual, at least, if not triannual, allergy shots. He'd be on antihistamines all the time. Sound familiar, Jen? He had an inhaler everywhere he went. He was a big athlete. He had to have his inhaler, like, to survive soccer and cross country running. So when I met him, and literally we've been together 20 years. So 20 years ago when I met him, it was like a stigma he carried around. I have asthma and I have severe allergies. And it was like part of his identity, basically. And so that's kind of the background, like both of them. And what they would go through, to just paint you a picture, is like, we pretty much invest in boxes of tissues. That's how much just snot would pour out of these 2 humans I love. Like, just always had to have tons of tissues in the house, lots of hot showers, unfortunately, a lot of suffering is what I watched. My husband, in hay season where we live, his eyes would literally swell shut. He would have little, like, just tiny little slits where he could see out, and he'd have to lay on the couch to be completely incapacitated. Like, when I was raising our young babies, like, there was like a month where I was like, oh, cool. Well, I'm solo parenting. Basically, you're in the house, but you're completely like unable to function. And he would just, he was miserable. It was just painful to watch. And he just suffered, and he'd wheeze because the allergies would create the asthma attacks. And so he would just lay on the couch, and he could barely get oxygen in and out of his lungs, doing nothing but laying on a couch. So that's the history. Now I'm going to fast forward to about 3 years ago. And yes, it's when I started dabbling with Young Living oils and seasonal allergy relief, because I met these people through the Young Living community that shared stories of like major change. And I thought, I'm willing to try anything. We've tried so many things. this was the year where after we'd started using and diffusing Young Living oils, my oldest daughter's eczema went away within a month, 1 month from the moment I got a diffuser and a starter kit of oils and started diffusing thieves. It was mostly thieves in my daughter's room every single day. Her eczema went away just by diffusing thieves. That was the only thing we did different. So that's kind of a like jaw dropper for me because she'd had that for 8 years. So 3 years ago, when we started diffusing every day, her eczema just flat out went away. Now we'd done all kinds of things for those 8 years leading up to it that got it better and better and better and better, but it never went away. And the allergies were still pretty just flat out miserable. And same with my husband. So we started diffusing this miraculous blend that people talked about that really helped with seasonal allergies. And it did help. And we did a little, like I put a little bit of oils on her feet at night, my daughter, and I tried to get my husband into it. And he was kind of into it, but he didn't do it a ton. And they both still had a pretty classic allergy response year. 2 years, so we're going to fast forward to 2 years ago. My daughter's asthma gone. So eczema's gone. Asthma is completely gone. She sprinted up and down soccer fields and never like lost her breath, never wheezed, never anything. That was not something she'd done for like 9 years of her life. And so something was starting to transform in her body. 2 years ago, I did a much better job of being like, look, you two, I'm setting you up for success. You're going to use these oils. You're going to take these supplements. Like we really made a commitment to like regularly use this very particular allergy recommended tools and protocols. And I noticed a significant shift that year. I mean, I was like, holy cow, people weren't kidding. If you really use it, it really works. So this was 2 years ago. And that year, Carly did not really have snot. She really didn't need the tissues. The asthma had gone, the eczema was gone, and my husband's still had some allergy response, but it was much better. Well, fast forward to last year, and I basically said, we're doing it all. Like, we're committing early in the season. I'm going to start you out right. Like, we made these special capsules. I'm going to talk about those. Like, I pre-made them so it was easy. So he would just take them every day. And I still remember the day. This was in the heat of hay season. And he called me one day. Like, you got to know my husband too, to know, like, he's not one to be like, hey, by the way, that worked. He called me one day and he's like, I just got to tell you, it totally works. It was the middle, like he was out walking. The man could not go outside in hay season, like for 40 something years of his life. He called me to say, I'm on a walk. I have this special roller you made me. I started to get a little something. I rolled it on and immediately it went away. He goes, an hour later, I started to feel a little something come on. I used your roller, went away. And it took a whole nother month to realize he and Carly last year had no symptoms. Like, they did not suffer. There was no outpouring of snot. There was no swollen eyes. There was no asthma. There was no wheezing. It was just, they were done. And Carly even is so sweet. I think it was 2 years ago. My mom's on this call, so she can see if she remembers this the same way. My daughter said, I'm done with allergies. I've healed them. They're gone. I don't have them anymore. And she was right. Like,
Yeah.
she really just, they were done. And if you'd seen her, like I should show pictures because it's really like just the red under and all around her eyes. And just the poor thing just had to live life with a handkerchief in her pocket at all times for like the first 9 years of her life. So that's the history I kind of wanted to plant, is like, my husband was like labeled, I am asthmatic. I have severe allergies. I can't function in hay season. I can't step outside. I can't do it or I will suffer. And as of last year, he could go for a walk in the heat of hay season and be okay. I mean, I'm just amazing, truly amazing to me. So that's that background there. But to also get rid of their asthma response was really powerful too. So that's the history I wanted to paint. Now I'm going to just talk really quick about, for some of you may know this already, some of you not, but I think it's pretty cool information. So understanding what allergies, like what happens to the body when we have allergies. So essentially, right, because they say antihistamine, So an allergy response is a massive histamine response. The body is basically, what's sad, it's treating whatever you've taken in, pollen, dust, like I think animal dander, if you eat nuts, you have an invader, like your body's responding as if you have a foreign entity. You have an invader in your body, and it sends this massive histamine response to attack the invader. And while that's really helpful, when you're talking about, if it's like a short-term thing, it's a very helpful life-saving response. When it's a recurring, consistent, like year after year response, it actually starts to, there causes so much. So histamine causes inflammation. Like there's really no better way to say it. So we have an allergy in the body, it's a foreign body, the body is at war with itself, and you have a massive amount of histamine and you have a massive amount of inflammation. And that inflammation causes irritation. That irritation and inflammation causes literally our core body systems to be under a stress response. So think about like your immune system, your digestive system, your respiratory system, your nervous system are in distress, like a constant state of inflammation, irritation, and stress. So the body really can't live and function at its full potential when we have that much baseline stress going on and inflammation. And it really does hit the cellular level, because it's really at the cellular level that that histamine response happens and that inflammation happens and that like attack the cells sort of thing. So the other thing that gets hit really hard with histamines is our liver, because our liver is like our major filter. It filters our emotions, our hormones, any kind of toxins we come in contact with, and our like overriding histamine. Our liver is just working like such double time, overtime when we have allergies. In the world we live in right now, with like toxins everywhere in the water and the food and the air, and like we can try to live our healthiest life, and our liver still is going to work extra hard right now. So imagine like you add in like a histamine response and you have a tired, fatigued liver oftentimes. So it also can cause, like I said, the digestive system to like back up, the immune system to be suppressed because you have all that inflammation. So things aren't flowing, like the release of toxins is slower, and the, influx of excess oxygen is slower. And so everything's a little bit dampened down and heavy. Thus, like in the respiratory system, what histamine does is it creates that snot, congestion, difficulty breathing, and that's what can lead to the asthma, all that swelling in the lungs. So that's just does anyone have any questions before I move on from like what happens in the body? I know that was like a lot of information. Cool. Okay, so here's the really fun part, at least for me. If you walk away with one piece of information from tonight, I really hope you hear this. And that is, so I'm about to drop into the remedies. So if you like one huge takeaway, use them often and early. Like if you take one thing away from this, use them often and early. And that was something that took me like 2 years to learn. It was the early. So if you start using these remedies early, you prevent the inflammation, you prevent the excess histamine. And so you actually set the body up for success by building that immune system and that healthy respiratory function, and that, oh, right, we don't need to freak out because there's some pollen in the air. Okay, great. So early and often is like my number one tip of everything I'm going to share tonight. So I'm going to share some remedies, and I know Marianne is going to share some remedies as well. And I just don't want to forget this, but if anyone in here also deals specifically with asthma, I'd be happy. You can leave like a little note in the chat or unmute yourself at some point. I'd be happy to share an asthma specific roller, because there's actually people, I'm so grateful for people who've done this journey before me, and they share a lot of their experiences like I'm sharing mine. And so I have learned of an asthma relief for anyone who suffers from that. So I want to get that in there. Okay, remedies. All right. So the number one, if you're going to do one thing and one thing only that I would recommend, it is the magical pollen combo. And this can be for all kinds, not so much food allergies, but like if you live with a cat but you're allergic to a cat, this is super helpful. If you have any kind of seasonal allergies, it doesn't have to just be spring pollen. Sometimes it can be mold in the fall from the leaves, things like that. It is lemon, lavender, and peppermint. It is truly this super affordable and miraculous combination. It's, and when I say early and often, I mean stick it in the diffuser, make capsules with like 2 drops of each of these in them, and you can stick them, make them in like, get your own capsules and make capsules of 2 drops of each of these, stick them in your freezer. Then they're just easy to pull out, take 1 to 2 early. Like I think my husband took 2 to 4 of these a day last year when he didn't have any response, like around this time of year, like beginning of March, he started early. And I really think it set his system up for success. And then there's a 4th little magic one, and this is copaiba. And I would highly recommend you stick this in the diffuser or stick this in the capsules. And also you can make what's called a roller. You know, you put, like if you have a kid, I would do about 8 drops of each of those oils in it and fill the remaining space of this with carrier oil, like totally blanking right now.
Coconut oil.
Coconut oil. Thank you. I'm like, brain
oil.
stopped working. And then I'm going to show you like where I place this. And I had my husband and my daughter is you do like right here where your sinuses are, along the bridge of your nose is a magical spot. Right along here, jawline. This is where your lymph system is. And then along the front of your neck. Those are kind of your magic seasonal support areas. You can also kind of rub it along your chest. But like I said, with kids, you can start with 6 to 8 drops of each if you want. With my husband, I do 12 to 15 drops of each because I'm like, you're 40 something, you can handle it. You need all the support you can get. But that would be my number 1 recommendation. And it's the doing all of it. It's the breathing it in through the diffuser. It's the getting it on your skin topically, and then it's taking it internally. You're basically sending your body into like a wake up call, like a natural, like, oh, cool, I got this. I know what to do. Instead of once the pollen's in the air, or once you're like, you know, and I get if we live with a cat, more allergic to cats, different, but it just sets yourself up for success. So that's like one of the number 1 things we did. And I did that with my daughter, and that was enough, those things. And she has her own roller by her bedstand now, and she's happy to put it on herself. And the other tip is you roll it. There's your liver, right side, right below your rib cage. Roll it on your river and the liver. Roll it on your river, on your liver front and back, because that actually helps your liver kind of pull out histamines and do a gentle detox. And so you're supporting both your liver and all your respiratory immune systems, all of it. So that's my number 1 go-to, like all time. And that works great for kids. And you can even start young. I mean, I'd feel comfortable putting that on 3 and 4-year-olds. Now, you'd want to watch maybe this area around young kids, because peppermint can be a little sensitive to eyes, but chest, back, you can put it on their feet is great, and put it on. So those are that's my number 1. The second thing I'll share, and I don't have it, but I'm waiting for it to come in the mail because we take it this time of year. But it's basically a little supplement in a bottle like this. It's called Allergies, and it literally helps your body process, like enzymes help break up food. It helps break up histamine. I mean, it's basically like a gem to have if you have severe allergies, and it's easy because it's in a capsule form and you just take a couple pills a day, especially during allergy season, and it works wonders. And so that was one I actually researched and learned from other people. That was a suggestion, is the Allergies capsules that you can actually get from Young Living as well. So far, I'm also only recommending ingesting, topically applying Young Living oils because of the purity that they have. They're organic and beyond, and there's just a quality they put into how the plants are produced so that they're safe to take internally and have direct on your skin. So the other thing, so that was 2. So the Allergies is a supplement. The lemon, lavender, peppermint, copaiba is my number 1 always recommended. And then the other one is get yourself a high quality probiotic. That's gonna like just automatically get your gut flowing in and out, gonna like ease, you know, if any inflammation shows up, your gut's not already kind of like working really hard to make good bacteria, because the good bacteria also help combat the histamine response. And so getting off on a really good high quality probiotic is something I highly recommend. And fermented foods, if you don't, like that's a great way. Kombucha is a great way to get fermented foods, to get probiotics also in kids, especially, and us adults, but it's a little bit easier. Okay, I've got 2 more, and then I'm going to pass the book on to Marianne. And the next one, so this is a supplement. It's called Sulfurzyme. You can't really see it. Sorry about that. Nope, not going to work. It's a powder. And so like you literally just add a little bit to water. It tastes really good. You can add a little to juice, to tea once it's cooled. Kids can take it, adults can take it, and it's an incredible cellular detox support, like gentle liver, cell, and tissue detox support. And so if you are kind of always been dealing with inflammation, it can include sore joints, it can include inflammation, it can include just excess toxins. And if you have histamine response and allergies, you have excess, your body's working really hard basically. And this literally helps your cells, your intercellular structure, flush out and receive more nutrients. And so it just really helps the flow of like, great, we were exposed to a bunch of pollen and we're just going to take it in and we're just going to flush it right back out. So this has been a really powerful one, especially for my kids. When I started giving this to at the time she was 4, my youngest daughter, she was getting rashes regularly and just she had food allergies and we weren't quite sure what they were yet. But when she started taking Sulfurzyme, which she doesn't mind taking because it tastes good and it's easy, it's powdered, within a month, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it was something like that, her rashes were gone. And she actually started eating better. And I truly think it's because her gut inflammation just dropped radically being on that supplement. So safe for kids, safe for adults. And actually people give it to their dogs who have inflammation and joint issues. So if you have an old beloved dog, feel free to talk to me outside of here and I will happily share about using it for pets. And then the last one, but this was a big one, is your diet. Nobody likes to talk about cutting out their favorite foods, but the reality is, if you're really suffering from allergies, like not just my family, but my husband and my daughter, everyone in my family has now gone gluten-free because we found out that's what our youngest was severely allergic to. But when they cut out gluten, that made a really massive impact because it's a natural inflammatory food. Unfortunately, it tends to get stuck in our gut a little bit. And it can be hard to really flush out. It doesn't mean it's bad for us. It's not bad for us. It's just if you deal with a lot of allergy, excess stuff, then getting rid of gluten is a really good trial thing. Dairy would kind of be the second. Sugar is another one. Like, refined sugar is another one that just can naturally cause inflammation. So also making sure if you do have more seasonal allergies that you're providing yourself with a diet that's low inflammatory, which is 2 of the easiest ways to get rid of inflammatory foods is to give up gluten, and to give up dairy. Now, my husband and my oldest daughter, they love the dairy. They eat all the dairy and they're still doing great. So really feel it out for yourself and trust your own like experimenting and knowing with that. Okay, so that's what I got. Balls passed to you.
Okay, I will have to say this one thing. I have never seen an adult with the allergy symptoms that Jason had. I'm just like unbelievable. I've never seen anyone as an adult who just had wads of tissues and runny noses and runny eyes and swelling and sneezing, and he doesn't anymore. It's like such an amazing difference. And I remember when Carly said, I don't have allergies anymore. Just like, it was so wonderful. So I'm going to speak to, like the roller, like I've used the lemon, lavender, peppermint, copaiba. I use it on my feet because I'm one of those people that just the volatile oil aspect of peppermint, if it's anywhere near my face, my eyes kind of burn, they tear up. So what I have found works for me is like the Kid Sense Sniffles. And you can see I put a roller top on it, and that I can roll all around my sinuses and my nose. And I go along here with it all, because this I can have near my eyes, and it works really well for my husband as well. And I'm one of those people who, I've been allergic to cats since I was a kid. I absolutely love cats and I refuse to live without them. Um, so I've used oils for so many years, but I never realized that they were good for the physical until Pam started the journey with Carly. I use them for mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. So what I used was homeopathic histaminum, which is very gentle. And what it does is it tells the body, this is what you do with all that histamine that's running around. So it's not like it's a medication. It just signals your body, hey, this is what you should be doing now because of what's in your body. And then the other thing that I always did was local raw honey. So eating local raw honey is really good if you have like pollen allergies, any kind of like hay allergies, tree pollens, flower pollens, goldenrod, all those things. And what I started doing was I would do the oils because of the peppermint. I would put them into some raw honey, and then I would just make some tea, let it cool down a bit, and then mix it in so that the hot water didn't destroy the effectiveness of the oils, and I would drink it that way. I did a lot of the lemon, lavender, peppermint, and copaiba on my feet. I can diffuse them, so I would diffuse them. And the other two things that I just really love is N-acetylcysteine. I don't know if you can see that. Young Living doesn't have one, so I look for a really good high quality. And N-acetylcysteine really supports the body's histamine response. It scavenges free radicals. It's a great antioxidant, and when you combine it with vitamin C, it really supports the body's histamine response. So I rely on those. And something that I realized this afternoon when I was thinking about what we were talking about tonight is that there's another oil, blue tansy, that is really great for histamine response. And I have been for 2 years sort of experimenting with different face serums that I mix up myself, and I use the blue tansy in it. And I put it on almost every single day. And that's something that I can put on all over my face. I don't put any citrus oils in so that I can go out in the sun. And I realized that that is like the one thing that I'm getting on my face and in my body every single day. It's around my eyes and my sinuses because I'm like putting it on. And I have not really had maybe like 4 or 5 like sneezing allergy. Oh, my eyes are too itchy. Like every once in a while, the cat's like right up and this fur's getting up in my nose. But I still don't have all the sneezy, runny eye reactions to it. And I'm beginning to wonder if it's the blue tansy every single day that's making a difference for me. So that's something I'm just being really curious about and wanting to explore with other people. So those are some of the things that I'm looking over here, what I have over here. Pam's talked about most of the stuff. And yeah, what I have done in the past is to make up capsules. And if someone is like new to this and they're already in like a full-blown reaction, one of the things you can do with the capsules is like for 3 days. For the first day, take them like every 2 hours or as close to it as you can get. The next day, take them every 4 hours. The next day, take them like twice a day. And it's kind of like it gives your body this big boost to the immune system and fighting the histamine. And then after that, you can probably get away with just 1 or 2 capsules a day. But that's a great way to kind of like jumpstart the histamine response and healing that. And you can make them up. Like, it's a pain in the neck to make them up in the moment. I usually like put a bunch of oils in a little dropper bottle like this. And then what I do is I fill a bunch of capsules. It's usually a bigger one than that. Fill a bunch of capsules, put them in a little container and stick them in the freezer. And then they're there, and it's easy to just pull them out and pop them in and go on about your day. That's it. That's what I've got.
Sweet.
I
Thanks.
see we got a bunch of things going on in the chat. Let's just sort of like check in on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
and
found that-
I did mention that, yeah, the histamine is amazing. I also wanted to mention that we use sulfurzyme, and it is something that's also safe for cats, and is actually recommended for both cats and dogs, not just old ones that need help with their joints.
Super cool. I love that, like, mom, and I'm learning things from you tonight. Like, how did I not know about it? So, yay for classes. I'm going to stop the recording.